Hi everyone, so we're going to go through another example, and I'm just going to add in a beforeAll and afterall method so we could see what happens in the unit testing there as well. So I'm just going to create a brand new project on my desktop. And I'll just make a folder, and I'll say before, all, after all, etc. Or I'll say JEST. And what I'll do is just drag and drop this folder over. And right over here, I'll just install JEST for right now. So in a new terminal, I will install JEST. So now what I'll do is I'll make a JavaScript folder and a test folder. So JavaScript, and I'll make underscore underscore test underscore underscore. And I'll just add the file in the JavaScript first. So I'll just make it called multiply.js. We'll start with a simple example here. And I'm just going to make a test file as well in the test folder. And I'll make it multiply.test.js. So let me first create the function here. I'm going to go into my multiply.js, and then I'm just going to make the function multiply, and for right now I'll just make it a and b, and return a multiplied by b, and then I'll export this function. Module.exports is equal to multiply. And I'll just add a functional comment here. I'll make a at description, and it'll be called the function multiplies numbers together. And I'll say the first number, the second number, the multiplication of two numbers. So I got this one all ready to go. Now I can go into my test file, multiply.test.js, and this is where I'm going to set up a bunch of unit tests. So let me connect to the file first. So I'll put multiplication is equal to require. So JavaScript, and then multiply. So before I add the beforeAll and beforeAch, I'll add the describes with the tests first. Describe. I'm just going to make two separate describes just so we could see how the program moves back and forth between the different calls. For now, I'll just make the test though. So what I'm expecting here is I'm going to call that multiplication of where the function's coming from. I'm going to pass the values of 4 and 5. And what I want dot to be, so what to come back, is I expect the value of 20. And then I'm going to make another describe. I'll just copy what I have here. And then I'll say this is for multiplication for 2. And then I'm going to multiply the numbers of 2 multiplied by 4. So I'll change this to 2 comma 4. And I'll say this is 8. And then what I have here is I have two different describes. I could have put the tests into just one describe. I just wanted to show you when I add the before each, after each, and before all and after all, and how the tests move back and forth. So I'm going to now start adding the before all. And I'll add the after all as well. So one thing we forgot is I need to go to the package.json, and I'm going to add the script. And there we go, save that. And I'm going to run the test here. And there we go, so I know that it's working for right now. And if I go back to my test.js, I'm going to scroll up here. You can see that says starting the program, so I'm starting the program here. And then after all, once it's all done, you'll see that it says ending program. So ending program, once after all these other tests are done, then we will run this at the very end, after all. So before all starts right away at the beginning of the program, and then after all is once everything is complete in this file. And then I'll also add a before each. And then before all. So I'm going to run it, and you'll see what's going to happen is the before all will run first, and this should be before, this should be after each. So let's put after each. So before all should be running first before anything starts. Then it'll be before each, so file connection. Before this runs, it'll run the before each. And then once this block of test is done, then it will run the after each with the file teardown. Then it'll run the before each again because it'll go into the next block of tests. And once this test is done, then it'll run the after each, and then it'll run the after all once it's completely done. So let me run it, and I'll show you. So we could see here, it says starting program first, starting program. Then we're going to get a file connection before each, and then we're going to get a file teardown. So once this is done, it'll be a file teardown. And then it'll do another file connection, which is this before each again. And then it'll go into this test. And then after that, it will run the file teardown. It'll go back here again, file teardown. And then at the end, it'll run this after all. And then I'll just save it. What I'll do is I'll also add a before each and after each within each of the describe blocks. So let me save it here in each of them. And I'm just going to change the text here so you guys could at least see what's going on. And then this to tear down multiplication one. So I'm just going to actually copy this, then I don't have to type as much. And this is multiplication 2. There we go. So start multiplication 2, tear down multiplication 2. So now that we have a before each and after each within the describe, once it goes into this block of describe, before the test even runs, it will run the before each. So it'll say test to start multiplication 1. And then once this test is done, it will run the after each right here, test to tear down multiplication 1. And so on for the other one as well. So let me save it and run it so I could show you. So I'll just scroll up here, and you can see here we're starting the program. Then we're going to have some sort of file connection with the before each, and then it will go into the first describe block or whichever describe block here, and then it will go to this before each which says test to start multiplication 1, and then it will test to tear down the multiplication 1. So once this test is done, it will run the after each. And then once this entire describe block of test code is done, it will go back to this after each, which is file teardown. And then it will do the file connection one more time here. So right here, before each file connection. And then it'll go into the next block of code here, and it'll do a before each test to start multiplication. So once we do the before each, then it will run the test, and then after the test it will run the after each. So we could see test to start tear down multiplication 2, and then after this entire describe, then what we'll do is it'll do the file teardown. So we have the file teardown, and then we're going to go to this last one, which is after all. Once everything is done in the file, it'll end the program, and we could see it right there.